But the other thing I'm playing, Kev,
Yes, I'm excited to hear about this one.
God of War: Sons of Sparta. Uh, Obviously, Shadow dropped at the end of the last state of play. Um, Purchased it immediately because I'm a
Mm-hmm.
shill, I guess. And I am maybe somewhere in the realm of like 10 to 12 hours in.
Oh wow, longer than I expected.
Yeah, and I don't know how far in I am, but I still feel like I've got quite a long way to go. I'm taking it quite slow. I'm doing the thing that you shouldn't really do in Metroidvanias, where I'm trying to explore the nooks and crannies
Mm-hmm.
initially before getting all the upgrades that I know are going to let me actually access those areas.
Oh, I do that.
But I just like adding it to the map and like knowing that those things are there. So then I'll be like, mental note, come back. Uh, I think general consensus is pretty mixed, right?
That's a very good
A
way to
nice way
phrase
of
it.
putting it.
Yes, yeah, yeah.
I would agree that I think it's not anywhere near the top tier of Metroidvanias. It's not. Um, and to be fair, I wouldn't necessarily expect that from the studio that this game is coming from. But I would also agree with the sentiment that I've seen growing as people are spending more time with it, where the longer you play it, the better it gets, and it gets considerably better. I think the game starts out actually pretty weak, personally. Like the first 2, maybe 3 hours. I wasn't having a bad time, but I just sort of felt it was, like, incredibly generic and
Mm-hmm.
super basic combat, and, like, the traversal wasn't fantastic, but once you break through that, and I know that that is a big hurdle for people, which I completely get. Once you breach that and you start unlocking abilities and upgrading your skill trees, getting some unique items, I think that's when the game is starting to click with me more and more. I don't have a problem with the art style personally. I think, I love pixel art games, and I think that this actually is, contrary to what seems to be general consensus, I think this is actually quite a nice looking one. I think there's just maybe a bit of dissonance that it's a God of War game that looks like this. That maybe that's where some people are feeling a bit jilted by it. But overall, I am having a good time. Um, and I think that my final point on it, in terms of overall perspective on the game, is that it might not be like a home run, which is what you might necessarily want from a God of War title.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I still deeply appreciate, which I guess there's going to be some sort of like mental disconnect in my head, considering what else we're talking about today, that Sony is taking chances with their IP and not just doing the AAA super high fidelity plus one, whatever, third person, sad dad, blah, 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 blah. They're swinging for the fences a little bit, even if it is licensing out an IP to a different studio. And I would hope current events might suggest otherwise, not only in terms of this game's reception, but what's happened today might suggest otherwise. But I do hope that they continue and get even more experimental and try things out differently. But time will tell.
Yeah, I'm glad to hear that it gets better as you go on. Because I am one of the people, like when we first saw it, I'm not entirely in love with the
Mhm.
pixel art. Like I don't mind pixel art in general, but this pixel art I don't think particularly captures me. I
Sure.
also feel like something about when I see the game, I feel like the camera is too far away. I feel like if they brought the camera in a little, that would go a long way. But also, I think this is say. I think Kratos just looks stupid in it. Like I know he's just like, oh yeah, but he looks dumb. Like he doesn't look like a cool character. Like God of War, Kratos has always looked cool, and I get this is his origin story. But you could have told me that is Ed the
Sure.
Spartan, and I would believe because it does not look like Kratos. It does not like give you main character energy. So like I'm sitting here, I'm like, there's nothing visually drawing into this game. I'm seeing the reviews as like a 67 on Open Critic. Like people are saying it's a fine Metroidvania. It's not. There's better options in the genre. do you honest question,
Mhm.
putting your love of God of War aside, if you take God of War out of the title of this game, would you have bought it?
No, no.
That's what so the IP is doing a lot of heavy lifting here, I think.
Yeah. And you know, I don't inherently think that that's a bad thing necessarily, but I fully agree with the criticisms that, I mean, even prior to this thing being shown off, the scuttlebutt was like, oh, it's going to be like the Lost Crown, and it's going to be Greek Kratos, but it's going to be like Kratos, and
Mhm.
you're going to have the Blades of Chaos, and it's going to be flashy, and it's going to
Yeah, it
be
would have been awesome.
2.5D. That seems like more of a home run, and more of an easy layup. So I'm not exactly sure what the decision was. I don't know whether it was maybe like Santa Monica that, especially knowing that they were going to be remaking the trilogy, whether they didn't want anything that was a bit too close to that. I'm not sure. Or they wanted to use this offshoot experimental thing to lay a bit more of the groundwork narrative wise in terms of Kratos' backstory. So they wanted to do it here so that they didn't have to dedicate their own time to doing it. I'm not really sure what the decision making process was, but um, yeah, if you took the name and some of the names of the characters, I guess, out of the game, I think that it is, frankly, you know, pretty generic, pretty basic. I'm more open to it not only because I'm a big God of War fan, but also again,
Mhm.
I want to endorse and support the idea that Sony does get back to making the smaller experimental things, even if it's not first party teams doing it. Which, to an extent, I was relieved that Sony are seemingly backing Kana, right,
Mhm.
for the sequel, which is like that's great. I love to see that. But yeah, it's, I don't think it's a swing and a miss, this game. I think it's a swing and you've maybe got to like first base, you know? Like it's not, you haven't really done a good hit. You've sort of dribbled it across the floor a little bit. Um may, maybe an experiment that didn't quite pan out. That I think that's fair to say, but I'm still having a good time. And I would say, as much as the writing is a little bit inconsistent, I really like the voice acting and the music. Bear McCreary comes back and he does an excellent job. And I think that anybody who is a God of War fan probably should play this. I think it is worth playing if you are into the IP. So,
I, that was going to be my final question here because I've seen love him or hate him, and a lot of people hate him. David Jaffe, creator of the original God of War games, right? Go coming out being like, this is not like the direction it should have gone. Yeah, I'm sure he has lots of thoughts because he made the character. I'm sure he has a whole idea of what his backstory should be, and I don't know how much Sony Santa Monica had like information regarding that when making this game. But do you feel that this game adequately like enhances the backstory of Kratos, or if like is there any is the lore here actually worth knowing? I guess I should ask.
um, I simultaneously yes and no, because I think that in the same, I think it's not as good, but it would be kind of the same argument I'd make about Ragnarok Valhalla, that DLC, where I personally think that some of the best character development and story that we've gotten from God of War period is in that DLC, but a lot of people haven't played it, and I don't know how
Hmm.
important it's going to be going forwards. I would argue that that is probably more important going forwards than this. Uh, I can't say I've seen anything that is like no like surprise revelations or massive developments that recontextualize things, but I also haven't finished it. So I've
Hmm.
heard that the ending does do something pretty impressive. So I'll reserve judgment there. But I do think that it is a canon thing that probably is just laying the groundwork and giving you a bit more flavor to the character if you want it. But it's not really going to be anything. It's like a Disney Plus show, where like if you want to be well versed on everything and be fully in the know, then watch the Disney Plus shows for Marvel. But like you don't have to watch them. That's sort of
Hmm.
where I'm at.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm still gonna play it at some point. I'm not spending $30 on it. I'm gonna wait for a sale or a PS Plus.
I would expect one or both of those things will happen within the next year. So,
I wonder how it's selling.
I mean, it was at the top of the PlayStation charts in the
Okay.
week that it came out, but then I probably expect that it's going to nosedive after that, considering the consensus online. I mean, it's got you know, bias aside, it's got very good reviews star wise on the PlayStation Store. So I don't know how much that factors in versus online discourse. I don't know where the
Hmm.
general player base pulls their review information from. If you looked at it on the store page, I think it is like a 4 point something out of 5 stars. That could be conflated, whatever. But yeah, I don't know. I can't imagine, even if it hasn't sold like crazy well, that the IP probably is going to carry it into profitability. I can't imagine this game cost that much to make.
Yeah.
So it's probably still going to turn a profit and be deemed as a success, if not a critical one. So yeah, we'll see what happens. But I do hope that Sony does more stuff, not necessarily exactly like this, but in this vein.
Sly Cooper. That's all I'm saying.
Hey, I take a Sly Cooper Metroidvania, but like the proper cartoonized art style.